Perfect.
Stand
We're
by to
starting
launch
right now.
FanStream Sports.
Shut up!
Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports.
Shut up!
Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it's so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by now. Here's JP.
All right, welcome to a very special edition of the JP Peterson Show here on this Tuesday. As we get ready for some football, man, we got college football tonight. Some good games to watch. Watch Deion get beat. That'll be fun. We got NFL football coming up in a couple of weeks, but so many stories around the NFL that will affect your Buccaneers. I got my creamsicle on today. And my man Tim Ham from our Dallas affiliate, DSP Media, is joining me here for the first part. I had to bring him in from the bullpen because Nick Geddes is having some computer issues. Good morning to you, my friend. Thank you for being ready.
I'm not sure I'm ready for another, 8 or 9 pitches here, but I'll see what I can do with my arm.
I appreciate you jumping in here. And, of course, we have Jason Licht going to join us at 10:30. We did the interview yesterday afternoon after his media availability. So we'll get to that at 10:30. And we're going to have some of the press conference stuff that he did yesterday. My whole strategy here was, listen to the press conference, and he covered all the basic, and all the media covered the basic stuff in terms of the other players that questions needed to be asked about. So we'll play those sound bites. I had 15 to 20 minutes with Jason, so I wanted to get into more philosophical discussions about how he's done it, what was the strategy, what's going on behind the scenes. So that's what you're going to hear mostly at the 10:30 interview. So that's how we're going to play this. We'll get into some Rays stuff, just more insult to injury as Randy Arozarena homers again, and they lose again, losing 2-3 to Seattle. Timmy, have you watched the Connor Stallions Netflix special yet?
I have not watched it. It's on my list. I think it's like 4th on my list of my 25 things to watch.
I know. A lot of great content in there.
Yeah.
And I watched, got through about 3/4 of it. So I want to talk a little bit about that. If any of you guys have watched that, commenting, please throw in your comments and questions. Very interesting. The way it was produced, which you always have to kind of take into consideration. So we'll get into a little bit of that today. The Florida-Miami game coming up this weekend is going to be massive for both teams, and maybe more specifically, both coaches. We're going to get into that. Scott Jeeves, who, of course, sponsors our Gator Report and our Dublin trip. Thank you, Scott. He's finally recovered. He's going to join us today. We're going to hit some Florida-Miami stuff, and then also we're going to talk about the FSU lawsuit. There's been some reports out that the settlement, which, of course, Scott predicted many months ago, that would happen. I think he said about 6 months ago when he came on 6 months ago, that it would take about that long for it to get done. And it seems like that is imminent. What that means for USF, which there are reports that the ACC has been reaching out to multiple programs to fill in the gaps that they think they're going to lose. And USF has been one of them. So there are reports of USF meeting with Jim Phillips in the ACC. By the way, just, for Michael Kelly, little word to the wise. How do you know when Jim Phillips is lying? His mouth is moving. So anyway. So we'll talk a little bit. It's an old attorney joke that, just works really well in this particular situation. So we got lots to get to, and we'll kick it off with our discussion of the Bucs roster and where the Bucs have come. And with Jason coming on the show, I kind of wanted to, frankly, do a little celebration of what he has been able to do. And it has been nothing short of phenomenal. And you start looking at the numbers. Of course, you can objectively break things down by numbers. That's where you start. Having covered this team for 27 years, I've seen plenty of general managers come and go, head coaches, etc., players, draft picks, etc. And what I've noticed about Jason Licht that is, I think, most impressive is the evolution in how he has come to change his drafting style, to change the culture of this team. And it's really a fascinating discussion. And I think Jason Licht is very much at the heart of this. And when we play the interview, we're going to get to some of those things that his personality traits that I think have made this happen over the years. And Tim, you've covered the Cowboys for as long as I've covered the Buccaneers. And I think it's a very interesting contrast here that we can draw between the two teams, right? The way they're run, the ownership, general managing. I mean, it's clearly the Cowboys are the only team in the league that has an owner acting as the general manager. And that has not played very well since the 90s. It's not worked very well for the Cowboys. Although, if you're in the business of making money, it's worked really well because the valuation of that team is the highest that it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you could make the case that Jerry Jones manages that team to make money and maybe not to win all in.
Well, yeah, so an argument could certainly be made for that. But here's the deal with the Cowboys that, a lot of Cowboys fans, I don't know if they look at it this way and understand it. The Cowboys haters obviously look at it this way. Jerry Jones, if you separate Jerry Jones, the owner, from Jerry Jones, the general manager, he gets all of the high marks as an owner. Obviously, you just said they were just valued at $10.5 billion. JP, he paid $150 million for the team in 1989. It's a pretty good return on your investment, if you ask me.
It is. Yeah, it is.
And by the way, most of that money was borrowed. It wasn't even his back in the day. Again, a smart businessman, right? And look, Jerry, this was a big deal when he bought the team, that he's not a football guy. He's a businessman. And he announced immediately he would be the general manager of the team.
Mm-hmm.
And he fired Tex Schramm. He fired Tom Landry. He fired all the guys that had been there for now 29 years since the team started in 1960. And everybody criticized him at the time. Well, man, you're not a football guy. You played football for Arkansas.
Right,
you won a national
you're an oil
championship.
guy. Right.
Yeah, dude, you're an offensive lineman. Come on. You didn't even play a skill position.
So is Jason Light.
Yeah, but because they found so much success so fast, dude, that all went out the window.
Right.
Oh,
right.
Maybe these guys do know what they're doing. We won a Super
and
Bowl.
It was Jimmy Johnson doing all the decision making at that time.
Right. And
personnel,
at the time,
everything. Right.
Yeah. And at the time, a few of us knew that, right? People that knew the behind the scenes knew that, but not everybody did. So, Jerry shoots his mouth off in Miami one day talking to somebody drunk and says, I could get Barry Switzer to run this team and we'd win a Super, Well, I mean, he was right. He was.
But it was a team built by Jimmy Johnson.
It was Jimmy's team.
Seen after that didn't hold up.
Right. So everybody knows it was Jimmy's team, and Barry knows it was Jimmy's team. But now when you look at his track record since Jimmy left, and look, I don't want to give Jerry no credit for the Super Bowl teams because he and Jimmy made decisions together, right? He obviously, and he hired Jimmy. So obviously as a GM, boom, that was your great first move. But since then, the track record of the team winning championships and even appearing in championship games is null, right? There's nothing there. But from a business standpoint, Jerry, the owner, I mean, it's pretty good. And look, even if you want to say Jerry Jones, the GM, take the name Jerry Jones off of the plaque, okay? It just says NFL General Manager. If you look at the record that the Cowboys have had in the regular season, I think he's even a pretty good GM, right? Like, I don't know that he stayed with one team for this long. Obviously, he would not have with no Super Bowls.
Right, exactly.
But if he had this track record every 4 or 5 years, you go and win 12 games, and maybe out the first 2 rounds of the play. Okay, I get it. Well, you can't get a team over the hump. I don't even know that you call him a complete failure as a general manager.
No, I think you're right. Yeah. It's not a complete failure, but it's, regular season success. And let's be honest, the branding of the star and everything else is, and he's made the most of it. He's done a great job of marketing that team, building his own stadium, collecting all that revenue, message to other owners, by the way. He's done a brilliant job of doing that. But when it comes, this is why I love the contrast with the Buccaneers, because it could not be any more different.
Yeah,
you have a group of owners who are now deep pocketed, but weren't when they bought the franchise at all. They've done a phenomenal job, if not a better job, honestly, from where they started and did not have a brand of the star to work with, to now being the richest owners in sports. They have an NFL team, but I believe they're the only owners with an NFL team and a Premier League team, and have been for quite some time, that are worth well over $10 billion, the two teams, or all of their holdings. So they've done a phenomenal job, if not a better job in business than even Jerry. but they've also won a couple of Lombardi trophies. And they've done that by making a couple of great hires in this process, going outside the box, quite frankly, in a lot of different ways, and then spending a lot of money to make those things happen. And I'll go back to the first Super Bowl when, in a very unorthodox way, the Buccaneers needed a new coach. I mean, Tony Dungy had built the foundation of this franchise and had built it into a Super Bowl with a Super Bowl defense, certainly without question, and could not get over the hump offensively. And the Glazers made what was a gut-wrenching decision, an absolutely gut-wrenching decision, because they loved Tony Dungy and still to this day love Tony Dungy. They're still very, very close. But it was a tough business decision that maybe had to be made at that particular time. Not that they didn't think Tony was a Super Bowl coach. He was, but he had become entrenched in an offensive philosophy that was going to be tough to win without a superstar quarterback like Peyton Manning. And of course, Tony goes on to Indianapolis, fixes their defense, has a championship quarterback, and wins his Super Bowl. So it all works out in the end. But they go out and they do a coaching search, and Rich McKay was like this close to hiring Marvin Lewis. By the way, we'll get to the Jason Light thing soon, but I think this is an interesting discussion on how this all evolves. And, Rich McKay was he scoured the world to find the next coach and was close to hiring Marvin Lewis and almost had a deal done. But the Glazers were like, I don't think that's the guy. We want, John Gruden is the hot guy. That's the guy we want. And they paid a king's ransom, probably paid too much and suffered 14 years of no playoffs afterwards as a price that they paid. But it was worth it because you got the Lombardi trophy. And they gave up 2 firsts and 2 seconds and $8 million in cash to Al Davis to get the young hotshot coach who came in, made the necessary changes offensively, fired up this team defensively, and won a championship. And that was lightning in a bottle, because what followed that was, a John Gruden going on a power they're having a power struggle with Rich McKay, forcing him out, bringing in a lapdog general manager and Bruce Allen, assuming both duties, and it never worked. It just never worked. Got a couple of playoff appearances, but, John was, he was, as Brad Johnson once called him, a rolling blade of knives coming at you every day. And, he burns out quickly. And so that's the story of how the Glazers first did that, and then went through a lot of mediocrity, frankly, bought Manchester United, suffered a few years of low payrolls to do that. But then once that money came rolling in, they poured it all back into the Buccaneers, and they hired Jason Light. And Jason Light in his first few years was, he had some bad drafts. The 2016 draft will go down in infamy, right? And he struggled at times, although Mike Evans was his first pick. But as you'll hear in the interview, the key to Jason Light's success to me is his authenticity. He's just a regular dude. He's an old offensive lineman that knows football and ain't going to bullshit you. And he doesn't bullshit the players, and I think they appreciate that. As I've seen a lot of bullshit in general managers, Bruce Allen, and we've seen him come through, and it doesn't work. The players can smell a phony, and the coaches can smell a phony. And Jason Light is everything but that. He is an authentic dude, and he makes mistakes, and he's honest, and he says, "This is a mistake. I'm moving on. I screwed it up. I'm working on getting my drafting better." So you'll hear how his draft philosophy unfolded and how they got better at that. And he makes no bones about it in this interview. Yes, there were some sleepless nights after the Jameis Winston's 2019 season, when he was probably pretty close to getting fired. But the Glazers did something that most owners, including Jerry Jones, won't do, and that showed patience. And they believed in Jason Light, and they gave him another opportunity to hire another coach. And he went out and found a guy very much like himself in Bruce Arians. 2 guys, 2 peas in a pod, those 2 guys. They'll tell you the truth right to your face. They don't mince words. Whether you like it or not, this is who we are. We're going to be true to ourselves. And I think that works in the NFL. I think that really works in the NFL, unless you're dealing with someone like Antonio Brown. Thanks, guys. We're having visitors this morning that showed up late when they were supposed to be doing their job, and they showed up late. So we're having to deal with this today.
Gotcha.
But anyway, So we get to that point where he hires Bruce Arians, who wasn't going to coach, by the way, was not going to coach. And he got him to come here, and that turned into Tom Brady coming here. And again, relationships. Brady's relationship with Jason Light when he was at New England. Light's relationship with Bruce Arians, because he knew that Jason was a straight shooter. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna need to get all my guys here, all my coaches. Can you make that happen? Are the Glazers gonna go into their pot? Yes, we're gonna do that. This is unusual, folks, because people in the NFL don't always tell you the truth. Very often, there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes just to get the people that you want and you need. Once you get them in place, you hope it's all good. But if you've had some type of deception to get them there, eventually it's going to break down. Yep. So much of this what we're seeing with the Buccaneers is based on relationships and authenticity, and I think you'll hear that in the interview that we do. And so Jason evolved as a draft picker, and he has now hit 22 of his last 23 draft picks in his last 3 drafts. I mean, that's unheard of. That is absolutely unheard of. 44 of the 53 on this roster are either drafted players or undrafted free agents that they've signed. They're all homegrown players. Again, absolutely insane numbers. And I think the biggest testament to what they have built here and the culture that they have built here based on authenticity and straight shooters is the fact that, Mike Evans signed for $21 million a year. The Rams came at him. The Texans came at him. The Chiefs came at him. Arguably better situations in the quarterback department. Inarguably, as much as we love Baker. And to retain him was a family story. It was about Mike's wife and Jason Light's wife. You'll hear that story from Jason Light. And this is why when I say there's something special going on here, I want you to believe me, because we've seen this. We've gone through all these other machinations of general managers and coaches and all this through the years that we've covered here at the Buccaneers. And when I tell you there's something special going on, there's something special going on. You felt it when Brady got here. You felt it when Tony was here. You really did. There was something special going on. There was a bond of those players and the chemistry and family that was palpable, and you just felt it. And then the other teams, you're like, ugh. The Josh Freeman years, the Schiano years, it was just like, even the Raheem years, which great people, but it was a bunch of kids running around, having fun. It wasn't serious stuff in terms of the NFL. I still won 10 games. Rod did a great job, but he wasn't ready to be head coach. He'll be the first one to tell you that. So when I tell you there's something special going on, there's something special going on. And it's also, and you'll hear Jason talk about this, the group of his scouts. And if you go watch the In the Current of the scouts, which Jason Light wanted that story to be told, so the credit would go not just to him, but to his scouts. He constantly talks about that. And that's part of his authenticity. It's what you love when you listen to Jason Light. It's just, this dude is awesome. And by the way, he will make a reference that you won't hear most general managers make reference to. And I even missed it during the interview. So he texted me back and said, dude, you missed my reference. So you'll have to listen carefully, because I might have been talking over him when he said it. But it's one of those things that most general managers ain't going to say. But your buddy drinking a beer with you will. And you'll both laugh your ass off. So listen carefully. But that's that type of dude he is. And so I want to bring that all together when you see the success of this team and the fact that Baker Mayfield came back for less money. And Antoine Winfield, of course, got the highest paid contract. Tristan Wirfs. Those were all things that needed to be done. Levante David comes back. Why did Levante David come back? And I think he's a huge key to this whole deal as well. Yeah, he got paid a nice salary. I think he's getting $8 to $10 million. It's a nice deal for a 34-year-old linebacker. But he didn't have to come back and play. He wanted to come back and play. He knows something special is going on here. Will it happen this year? I don't know. I don't know if they'll win the Super Bowl this year. I still think it's a tough task without a dominant edge rusher, right? But maybe Yaya Diaby becomes that. So, and this may be 1 year away for the Buccaneers. I think we can all say that next year, if they can retain Chris Godwin or Jalen McMillan becomes the player we think he's going to become, then things could still coalesce and come up. But you look around the league, Tim. CeeDee Lamb signed for what? $39 million a year.
34
million a year. We talk about teams on rookie quarterback contracts. We're going to start talking about teams on rookie wide receiver contracts because they're resetting the market. Jamar Chase is now in street clothes in Cincinnati. They ain't winning squat without him. He knows it, and he's going to take him to the bank. Is that best for the team? No, it's not. It's not. Is it best that CeeDee Lamb make $34 million a year? Nope. Hard to win a championship when you're paying your quarterback 60 and CD's making 34. I mean, it's a salary cap league. It is what it is, but you need a team. And if you look at the salaries across the board for the Buccaneers, they're not paying anybody $35 million. They're not paying anybody $60 million. They had to do that because they didn't have any choice. You know, they had to eat all the dead money. It was the right choice to spend everything you possibly could and push everything down the road to win with Tom Brady. 100%, no questions asked. But they knew they were going to have to pay the piper. And when you have to pay the piper with all that dead money, you're going to have some really bad seasons. In fact, I can't recall the exact number, but last year the Bucs had so much dead cap money that somebody went out and said, okay, let's look at all the teams that have this much dead cap money and players that aren't playing that they have to pay. And almost every one of those teams in that situation won no more than 3 games. Mm-hmm. No more than 3 games. It's all 2 and 3 win seasons, which is disaster, right? In the NFL. The Bucs did not. They won a division title. And that's what is the most, and I said this months and months and months ago. The Bucs have done a rare feat that so many teams have not been able to do in this situation, where you push everything in to win this and you win the championship. And then, of course, you're going to take some knocks because they're older players. You're going to have to pay the dead cap and all that. It's impossible to stay competitive through that. Now, having a mediocre division certainly has helped. There's no question about that. But the fact that now they have the second youngest roster and they're a playoff contender and did not have to go into the abyss, who's done that?
Yeah, and he learned a lot of that in New England, right? Because that was kind of the New England philosophy. They didn't really pay their stars.
That's right.
It was when it was time for them to make their huge contract, they're out the door, and then you bring in the next guy and you work with him, and so there's something to be said for that, and how it helps a team build in this, like you said, this salary cap age that we live in, when quarterbacks are demanding $60 million and wide receivers are making 35 and running backs are devalued, yet they're still just as important, I think, as they were 10 years ago, 20 years ago in the league. But now you got 2 guys doing it instead of 1. So, no, there's something to be said for everything that he's done there in Tampa Bay, and it can't be understated.
Yeah.
And this is a great interview, by the way. I was going to tell you off the air, you did an excellent job with the questions and the whole conducting the interview. It was great.
I know, that's what I said. A lot of people, why didn't you ask about Devin White? Why didn't you ask about these other things? We only had 15, 20 minutes, and I wanted to get to the underlying stuff. Yeah. Jason rarely talks about himself, so I wanted to try to drag that out of him, and I think we got a few nuggets in there, but he's such a humble person that he doesn't want to talk. He wants to deflect everything, so trying to get some of these, behind-the-scenes stories is not easy for him. To get out of them, but I think we did an okay job, and I hope you guys enjoyed the interview. I wanted to play some of the other stuff, and we'll get to that hopefully down the road. But Nick Geddes, who's our normal Thursday co-host, is having some issues, so hopefully we'll be able to get that.
Technology wins again.
Yes, it's awesome. But a bit of serendipity that you're on, Tim, and we can compare and contrast the way these two teams operate, and I think it's fascinating and I think it illuminates how the Bucs have been able to do it in just a different way. Not that one way. Well, I would say one way is better than the other because the Bucs have 2 Super Bowls and since the 90s, and Jerry's done squat the last
century.
30 years.
They have 2 this. That's how I like to put it. They have 2 this century, and the Cowboys don't.
Yeah. So, and I think moving forward, it is a much more sustainable model, and that's why the Bucs. I think now that they have this young roster and it's developing. I mean, and you look at some of these young players that, Kalijah Cansey, I think is going to be a star in this league. I think Yaya Diaby is going to be a star. Jalen McMillan, Antoine Winfield. None of these guys, actually, Cansey was a first-round pick, but a low first-round pick, a late first-round pick. It's amazing where they've been able to find the talent. And, a lot of it has to do with not just scouting there 40 times and looking at their tape. It's much more about how they find out about these guys, which was a question I asked them. It's like, I know you go into the character, but how do you do that? I mean, what kind of surveillance tools are you using? And it's more about, again, we get back to it, human relationships. When you interview him, he sees something that maybe other places don't.
Yeah.
And he's learned. One thing that so many stubborn football coaches just refuse to learn.
And owners. Sometimes.
If a guy shows up and he's been arrested 2 or 3 times in college, and you think you're going to be, you're going to have this sudden miracle change, baptism of behavioral change, 9 times out of 10, it ain't happening. As much as you love that player and he knocks the shiz out of people and you just can't, you love the tape so freaking much that you can't take him off the draft board, take him off the draft board.
See, I can think of 2 instances when the Cowboys utilized that philosophy and it came back and bit them in the ass.
Yeah.
Warren Sapp.
Bucks too.
They didn't want to draft Warren Sapp because he had a history in college.
Well, that may be an exception to this rule because he did.
It is. And then
the other one, a great pro.
The other one that burned the Cowboys when they utilized that philosophy was Randy Moss.
Yeah.
They went out and got Greg Ellis instead, who, by the way, was a fine, serviceable defensive end for the Cowboys for a number of years. But good God, he was no Randy Moss, okay?
Yeah.
And every time Randy Moss played the Cowboys, because he wanted to come to Dallas, he lit him up. He had one Thanksgiving, I think it was his rookie year, 98. He had 3 catches, 3 touchdowns, 165 yards against Dallas on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how you see guys that come in and sometimes they don't have necessarily a criminal record, so to speak, but you interview them and you get that gut feeling that, and it's not necessarily sometimes about getting in trouble. It's just not loving football the way you need to love it to be a great pro.
Right.
And I've seen so many of those players that just have great physical tools, but they just don't. Josh Freeman was one of those guys. Josh Freeman was 6'5" Adonis and could throw the ball over that mountain. I mean, he was just he had all that could run, good looking kid, said all the right things. But I'm telling you, the first time I interviewed that guy, I was like, here's a guy that's trying to convince me and himself, more importantly, that he's a star. And some guys sabotage themselves because they're introverts and they don't want to be in the spotlight. And that they've been, since they were 12 years old, 11 years old, everybody's been saying, oh my God, you got a rocket for an arm, dude. You are great. You are the greatest. And you're like, yeah, I guess I'm pretty good. They don't really love this football game, but I'm pretty good at it. And people like me. And, it seems to be a way I can get through this. And you can do that through college. But when you get to the pros, it's an effing business.
Yeah.
And you better take it seriously. It's got to be your life because what you do, it's not only you. Now you've got 100 people within the organization that are counting on you, that are paying their mortgages through you. And if you don't make it work, and that pressure is too much for them, it's just too much. And you can sense it in certain people when you interview them. And Josh Freeman was one of those guys. Roberto Aguayo was one of those guys, that kicker, and they took second round, which Jason, it may or may not have been all his pick. Roberto Aguayo, when you interviewed him, you were like, this guy does not have the stomach or the stones to be an NFL kicker, because it's as weird as those guys are, they have to have ice in their veins, and they gotta there's certain temperament to be a good kicker, and he didn't have it. And those are the misses that he's made, not the physical misses. It's the mental misses and the heart misses. Yeah. Sorry, without further, we got to take a break. Then we'll come back and we'll play the interview for you. Appreciate you guys jumping in here. Don't forget, this show is always as a podcast, 2 hours we do every day, talking Tampa Bay sports-centric stuff. So if you've not tuned in before and you're just tuning in for the Jason Light interview, join us each and every day, 10 to 12 live. And if you miss it, you can do it on the podcast or watch it on YouTube. Just Google the JP Peterson Show and and subscribe to all of our stuff. Doesn't cost you anything. We're brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVESLawGroup.com, at Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Both those gentlemen will be joining us today. Chris Lugo will join us a little bit later on from Bay Area Modern Medical Center. I have an interesting question for him. And the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVESLawGroup.com. Back in 3.5 with Jason Light. Celebrate August with the dazzling green hue of peridot, known for its vibrant and refreshing sparkle. Yes, that's the birthstone of August at the Gold and Diamond Source. Explore the Gold and Diamond Source's stunning collection of peridot jewelry, showcasing the gemstone's unique glow and versatility in rings, necklaces, and earrings. Peridot's distinctive color makes it a standout choice for any occasion, adding a touch of elegance and charm to your ensemble. Enjoy 15% off when you shop August Gems online only. Stop by the Golden Diamond Source to experience the allure of August Gem and let their expert staff help you find the perfect peridot piece. It's the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Olmsted Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. Hey, it's football season, so we welcome back the FSU Football Report every Monday and Friday on the J.P. Peterson Show, sponsored by those huge FSU fans at Italiano Insurance. Folks, they've been 60 years, named the Small Business of the Year Chamber of Commerce, mostly because of their incredible customer service. So they'll save you money as well. Just do a quick insurance checkup, 813-877-7799. They just saved me $500 on homeowners insurance. Who's doing that? Yeah, they just shopped it around, found a better, cheaper company, and we got a cheaper price. And business insurance, make sure you're covered or you could lose your personal wealth. That's 813-877-7799, ItalianoInsurance.com. Go Noles.
Hey Tampa Bay sports fans, this is two-time LPGA major champion Jane Geddes here. After winning the U.S. Open and 10 other LPGA events, I wanted to try something completely different. So I came right off the top turnbuckle and landed in the crazy world of WWE. And yes, you heard that right, that's WWE. Working for the Vince McMahon as the VP of Talent Relations for the company. Now, though, I want to work for you. Everything I've done in my life, I've done with incredible passion. And now I've turned my focus to leading the best real estate team in Tampa Bay, the Geddes Gordon Group with Keller Williams in South Tampa. If you're looking for a new home, an investment property, or looking to sell your current home, we will give you major championship level service. When you choose Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of our inner circle, like family. So if you're looking for a few golf tips or a golf course view, we're going to stripe it right down the fairway. Call me at 813-485-6808 or go to gettysgordongroup.com, or again, give me a ring at 813-485-6808.
JP here for Third Generation AC and Plumbing. And Third Generation really says it all, folks. The owner, my friend John Rodriguez, has been in the AC and plumbing business since 1995. They built their business on honest assessments and doing great work on time for a great price. Simple, right? Did you know many AC techs are incentivized on big commissions to sell new AC units, and you might just need a drain cleared? So if you want someone you can trust, that's John Rodriguez and Third Generation Services. Check out the 5-star Google reviews. If you have a plumbing or AC emergency, call 813-961-8024 and a human will answer the phone. That's 813-961-8024 or go to thirdgenerationplumbing.com.
Ciao, Paolo Tini here, owner of Caffè Paradiso, one of South Tampa premier traditional Italian restaurant. We were recently voted number 3 on Open Table list of Tampa Bay's top 10 restaurants. We're very proud of that because we take great care of preparing each dish by hand with homemade sauces, pastas, only the freshest local ingredients. You won't see the big institutional vendor trucks pulling up to our back door. We get our seafood from local vendors. Sometimes I even drive out to Tarpon Springs and pick out our daily catch right off those boats. So stop by and say hello. Try our traditional lasagna, the fresh veal, some of our signature dishes like capelli al granchio, that is angel hair with lump crab meat, our branzino, that is a sea bass. We're located at 4205 South McDill, and you can make a reservation on Open Table and read all the great reviews. See you soon. Ciao. Grazie.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here as we roll through on a special Thursday with Jason Light joining the program. We did this interview yesterday, and Nick Geddes is back. His technical difficulties, we'll leave it at that.
Golly, man.
And we're brought to you by the great folks at EPI Extravaganza Productions Incorporated, the great folks over there, Paul Thomason and Dolly Brown. They are tremendous folks. They've done huge events like the Warrior Games. They do business events, charity events, birthday parties, whatever it is, graduations, large and small. Their company does it all. Great production, folks. They have a creative meeting with you for free. Just mention the JP Peterson Show. Go to their website, extravaganzaproductions.com, and you can contact them through there. Tell them JP sent you for that free meeting. And big Bucks fans as well. Paul Thomason is a huge Bucks fans. We're always chatting about that, and a big fan of Jason Light as well. We just had the conversation, Nick, about, kind of compare and contrast when Tim was on, since he's covered the Cowboys for so long, Jerry Jones approach versus Jason Light approach. And the two couldn't be more different, right?
I mean, the Cowboys have had a lot of success drafting their own players too.
Yeah,
sometimes, Jerry Jones, listen, I've never seen an owner speak as much as Jerry Jones does. It's like every day I feel like Jerry Jones is doing some type of press. And I prefer not to hear from my owner, but
right,
that's who he is. I'm sure you saw those quotes, circulating that he talked about with the expletives, that nobody else could do the job better than him and all that. So I don't know. They both draft really, really well. But in terms of where they're at right now, I think the Bucks, they have like the second or third youngest roster in the league.
Yep.
And then the Cowboys are obviously filtered in with a lot of veterans. So I guess you could say there's some differences there for sure.
No question. All right. Without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it. Our interview with Bucks General Manager Jason Light. Absolute pleasure and joy to welcome in the General Manager of the decade. It is not Nelson Luis, as it says right there at the bottom. They're using his phone. It is the great Jason Light of your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What's up, Jason? How are you? How you feeling? A few days out from the first week of NFL football.
Well, excited, just like everybody else, all the Bucks fans. Been a long camp because we're looking forward to this. I've been looking forward to this first game for a long time now, and just kind of shored up the roster, making some final tweaks here today in the practice squad. It's never an easy couple days releasing players, but that's always the hardest part. But now it's kind of turns to excitement about the year.
These numbers of your roster are really off the charts. 22 of the 23 players you've drafted in the last 3 years are on this roster. That never happens. All 7 of last year's draft picks, the last 2 draft classes. You've got only 3 players over 30. It's one of the youngest rosters in football, but universally, by most people, you're a playoff contending team. And what makes, I think, this most amazing, Jason, is you guys never went into the post Super Bowl abyss like every team has to go through. You have to cross over from winning to that downturn of high draft or low draft choices, all those things, how they punish you, people rating your team, your players, your coaches. And you've come off on the other side as now a young contending team on the rise. That's almost impossible to do. What was the strategy? How did you accomplish it?
Well, it wasn't easy, and I'm always going to answer this, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I've got a great staff, and we've got great coaches, but I've got a great scouting staff and support staff and Greenberg and Jackie Davidson. So we had to have a plan, and the plan was we better draft really freaking good. And I told the scouts and, Spytek and Beal and McCartney and all the scouts, we had kind of a few powwows. I said, listen, the only way to get out of this, as still being a contender, is we've got to add a lot of youth to this roster because of the dead cap charges that we were taking. And we've got to add a lot of rookies and undrafted free agents. And I need them to be able to play, and we need them to be able to be good and contribute. So, Luckily, it's worked out.
And your philosophy has obviously, I've covered every one of your drafts, and your philosophy has evolved, and the effectiveness has evolved, obviously, as well. What did you change? What are the things that you zeroed on to make you and your staff better drafters?
We focused. First of all, you always focus on you narrow it down to the players that can actually play.
Right.
So. I don't want to say that's the easy part, but that's the easier part of the process. My 10-year-old Theo can tell me that, the receiver at Ohio State's pretty freaking good player, So, but the hardest, then it's not so easy on all the other players, but
right.
But the hardest part is getting to know the person. And I've said it a million times that the misses we've had are the misses above the neck, not because of their ability, on the, their athletic ability or their speed or whatever, what have you. So we needed to zero in on the qualities we felt that made the great ones great off the field, and their intangible, their traits, call them. So we did a pretty big deep dive on what those traits would be, and then we focused a lot of time trying to make sure that these players have these traits, and that's the hard part. So the other part is that's also hard, it's easier said than done, is removing players from the board before the draft that you just have a lot of questions and concerns over. And it's hard because some of these guys are really, really talented, and you think, well, we can reach him, or he'll change.
We'll
when
change
he
him.
gets here.
Yeah.
And that just kind of got tired of finding out that you can't change him. So in most cases. So
yeah. How do you find that stuff out? Is it talk? I mean, obviously coaches are going to tell you they're the greatest players and the greatest kids ever. You got to go back doors, I'm imagining. Without giving away any trade secrets, how do you find that critical information?
Well, we're no different than any other team doing it, but you got to have great scouts and that have been in their area for a while, or if they haven't been in their area for a while, they've been taught by our other scouts the best methods to find those things out, the best people to talk to. It's not necessarily the people in the football building. It may be, someone in the academic building, there's just a lot of different, and then we interview them in person, and after so many interviews you can kind of figure out the bullshit. So,
you got some intuition? Do you stick with your intuition on this?
I do. Now, I'm not always right, but I'm not, there's a lot of things I'm not very good at in life. But one thing I think I've always had is a pretty good gut feel for people. So I think that's what helped me get this position that I'm in and kind of move up. This is not me tooting my horn. I'm just saying that's like,
I know you don't do that. Let me do that for you. So it's my observation that relationships is what you're about, and the culture has become within this building, and I've seen it evolve. And the reason you can sign a Mike Evans and a Baker Mayfield, and I don't mean this in a pejorative way at all, under market value, is because they want to be here. You have created a culture where these guys want to be here. I think it starts at the top with trust and ownership and management. And I believe you, as a very unique and authentic person, have developed those relationships. We hear it from the players. These are not just your players. These are family. And I think it's unique. I've covered a lot of organizations here, different regimes. It's unique. And I guess the question is, how have you gone about that? Is it just natural to you? Did you develop? Because I think sometimes guys come in and they want to try to be the general manager, something that they're not. And I think it's a mistake. How did you evolve this culture into what it is today?
I wanted to make sure when I took the job, one of the things I hit the Glazers on was during the interview was I'm going to be me. I'm going to be authentic. I'm not trying to be Bill Belichick, as the GM. Bill Belichick is his own person, and he's very successful for being authentic because he's been authentic. So I can't try to be him. Or be Andy Reid, or be, Don Shula or Jimmy Johnson. I got to be me. I've always believed in it. My parents did a great job, I guess. My sister and I have one sibling. We've always just been taught just to be real and be, tell the truth and not, be a bullshitter. And, I think having direct conversations, it works. And so people know what they're getting. So, but I can't take the credit for it. I can take credit with my staff for bringing in some unbelievable guys. But, it started with Bruce, and now it's with Todd. Todd has fostered an unbelievable culture here where that the players just love coming to work every day. And I'm not the coach. He's our leader. He's steering the ship right now during the season. And the players love the just the whole atmosphere.
What was harder, getting Baker done or getting Mike done? And how important were the wives in this, Ashley and your wife and the others involved?
I mean, they both kept me up. I think it was Mike, because once we got Mike done, we were able to focus on Baker, and Baker, saw it as an even more appealing place with Mike in place.
Makes sense.
And I've been together with Mike. He was my first pick, and I know him on such a personal level. And our wives, Blair and Ashley, know each other so well. So those two had a lot to do with it, because all year long, whenever we'd see them, Blair would, rush off in the corner and talk to Ashley, say, "Hey, just don't stress. We're going to get stuff done. Everybody wants Mike, and then Ashley telling Mike, this is where you need to be." So, I mean, as is usually the case, Blair saves the day with Ashley.
Wow. Jason Licht joining us here. So with everybody picking the Falcons, how much do you love that? And how much do you love the DNA of it? And I've said this before, the chip on the shoulder from Baker matches this blue collar town. It kind of matches who you are as a person. It matches the team. And now it's happening where everybody once again is overlooking the Buccaneers. I mean, you must hate it when anybody picks you to win anything. Like, this is your space, right? This is where you want to be.
I remember talking to you, not this offseason, last offseason at an event.
Yeah.
I said, "Hey, can you believe these people are picking us to win 2-3 games?" And you said, I should send them a bottle of scotch.
You should.
You
should.
That?
Yes. Did you? Did you?
I should have.
Yeah. I picked you guys to go to the playoffs. You made me look at it, and you made me some money. I appreciate that. And I'm doing it again this year. So keep it coming. You keep the odds low. Like this helps us out tremendously as fans. We're doing really well in the market. So, but you got to be happy that you love this spot.
I do. I like, especially with the quarterback, the most important position on the team, the way that he responds to that I think has kind of driven us. So
yeah.
Whenever I see an article or SpyTech or, the guys here in the front office see an article that, that's, saying that he sucks, we send it to him right away. So, because we know that that's going to help us in the end.
The head prick.
Yeah, that's right.
That's awesome. And as you look, how excited are you about this particular roster? Now, I'm going to pick out one player that I think kind of was a key to this whole draft, and that's Graham Barton, obviously the guy at the top. I thought that center was your biggest need, and you found the best one in the draft, that staying it where you were. This is part of your offseason. Everything is kind of, I'm not going to say it's been easy, but you've had some good fortune. It's come to you, but you've taken advantage of it. How big of a difference does he make in this draft class?
Huge. He's lived up to his bill so far, and he's got a ton of room to grow, which is kind of scary because he's already playing very, very well. One person I got to give credit to here is Hainsey. Hainsey has been his biggest cheerleader. And
how about that?
And I just kind of recently saw a mic'd up segment that'll be out where they're talking before the game, and Hainsey's giving him getting him motivated, and it's just very cool to see. And that's what that O-line room. That's what that O-line room is all about. And I learned a long time ago that the whole organization revolves around how that O-line room gets together, because that's a very, very important unit for all of us. Keeps the quarterback healthy, and and we go as far as the O-line takes us. So when that room is very happy and gets along great, it's great for all of us. But Graham has fit right in. He's super smart, very physical, very talented athletically, and runs like a deer. And it was a joy to see that screen the other night. Him and Tristan and Cody and getting out in space. It was nice. It was a 6 to midnight moment.
That for an old offensive lineman, you love that stuff, don't you? You just it's just like the X's and it's like a symphony coming together, is it not?
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. I know we had short on time, but this might be just go to where this all started. I mean, there were, some lean times for you, and I think it's unusual the patience that the Glazers showed because they believed in you and your authenticity, and then getting Bruce to come here, which got Tom to come here, and the rest is history. those moments, as you look back on them now and where you sit right now, what was it like sitting through them, and how much more gratifying is it now to be where you're at with that trophy?
It's really hard to put into words. I mean, I'll have flashbacks of there's been some nights Blair and I sat at home thinking, it's the end of the year and we don't know where this is going to go. And, I probably had every reason to move on from me. And luckily they didn't. And will be eternally grateful to them. They're a very fair family, and they've treated me very, very well. And especially this off season, given me we couldn't do what we did without money.
Exactly.
And they gave me a lot of money to be able to do it. So I'm grateful to them for that as well.
Well, couldn't happen to a nicer person, my friend. Really appreciate you taking the time to do this for me and the fans as well. They love you. These are great times. You deserve every bit of it. Thanks to the owners as well for their patience, because it has paid off tremendously for this entire community. Thank you so much, Jason, and great luck this season.
Hey, thanks, JPP.
You got it. You're the last one to call me. That was JPP, so I appreciate that. Thanks. Another great pickup. That was a super fun interview to do. Great guy. I hate this glare that I get off my camera there. Hold a snap. What'd you think, Nick?
Yeah, I never get tired talking about like the evolution of Jason Licht and basically the draft process. And it's funny. I listened to this interview last night when I saw that you had recorded it. And I don't know what, but I was laying in bed last night and I went down the rabbit hole of looking at the former regime before Jason Licht got here, because you always hear the horror stories. And I was a little young, so I didn't really pick up on everything. But I was going through like the Greg Schiano years. And I was reading old articles about how the locker room had no respect for Greg Schiano and he treated people like children. And I revisited the MRSA outbreak and the thing against the Giants and the Cowboys when there's 20 seconds left on the clock and he's going like all in on trying to, whenever they're doing the kneel down and all that.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking about how much of a mess that this organization used to be. And we're talking, 11, 12 years ago. And then Jason Licht coming in, and it stayed a mess under Jason. And I'm looking back at some of the draft picks, and I know he won't name names when he talks about guys that his draft shortlist now. It's much shorter than it used to be. I know he doesn't name names of guys he missed on, but like the Austin Safarian Jenkins of the world and the Noah Spences of the world, the Hargraves, the Chris Bakers in free agency, the Deshaun Jacksons. Like, it's amazing the Glazers had the patience to stick it out with him all this time.
Yeah.
And now we sit here today, and I don't care if the national media ever catches on. Clearly they haven't, because nobody has touched anything in this Bucs front office.
Right.
I don't really care, because I know
That's
this is a top 3 front office in all of football. To me, there's no doubt about it.
Well, the proof's in the pudding, and some people could say, well, they kept their draft picks, but are they good players? Yeah, they're good players. They've they've won 3 division titles in a row. And as you say what you want about the division, and I'm not saying the Bucs have been world beaters in these 3 seasons, but they're winning football games. It's not easy to do in this league. It's it's a highly competitive league, as you know. It's not easy to win games, and they've won games and they've won playoff games. So look, and the whole Tom Brady thing, I think so often it's just like, well, Tom Brady came here. It wasn't just Tom Brady. I mean, it wasn't just Tom Brady, and Tom Brady doesn't come here unless Jason Licht gets Bruce Arians. One of the biggest reasons that Tom Brady selected Tampa Bay was because he didn't want to play for some of these other coaches that were available for the Raiders. Who else was the Dolphins? Other places that were suitors, and Indianapolis. It was the organization. It was the Glazers. It was Jason Licht. It was the roster that was here that Jason had put together. Now, you can go back and look at those teams, that 2019 team, the Jameis 30-30 year, and you could look at the defense and look at some of the other pieces of the team and say, there's some good pieces here. This is they don't turn the ball over 30, 40 times, whatever it was that year. They win a lot of football games. Jason Licht put that roster together.
Right.
It was one of the big reasons I predicted the day after the 2019 season that Tom Brady was going to be the next Bucs quarterback. Because when you looked at all the other situations and boiled it down, this was the best fit for him. It was the best chance for him to win a Super Bowl. And because Tom Brady knows a little bit about football and rosters. And that all goes back to Jason Licht.
And you know what's wild, too? When you think about coming out of the Tom Brady years, and usually you would expect them to go through some lean years after that, and they really haven't.
Right.
But what's amazing is, like, when you look at the roster, and what is it, 2020 or 22 of the 23 or
Draft
something like
picks,
that of the draft picks are all still on the team and all that.
Yeah.
And the fact that like 40 something of the guys are all homegrown players on the Bucs, which is insane.
Well,
Think about it. Like in the last 5 years, your first round pick in 2019 is not on this roster. Your second round pick in 2021 is the backup quarterback. And the first round pick is not even, it's Joe Tryon Shoinka, who we're just kind of like, on.
Yep.
Logan Hall was your de facto 2022 first round pick, and he's a backup. Like, they've been able to do this, Jason Licht has, without even having some of those first few draft picks in some of these classes even pan out or even become like starters.
Right.
So like that puts more of an emphasis on what you do in the middle rounds of the draft. And with the undrafted player success they've had, I mean, if you're an undrafted player, just making the 53-man roster is an accomplishment.
Right.
And they have a lot of those guys all over this roster. So when you put it into the proper context like that, it's like, how does this guy not get his due around the league?
I think it's part of it is Tampa Bay. We know if you're a sports fan here, you know what that's about. You're just never going to get the respect that is due for your accomplishments. What this market has been able to do, especially in recent years in Tampa Bay years, is unmatched in any other market. And still, it's the same as people just don't respect it. I don't know why. I think it's a bias in the media. You know, everything is Northeast bias, that thing. And to some degree, sports means more up there. I get that. But you can't ignore what has been done here. And I think a lot of times, whether it's the Lightning, the Rays, or the Buccaneers, you're just not going to get the respect that you deserve. I mean, you look how often they talk about the Cowboys, and they've not done squat in the playoffs in forever.
Oh, look how they talk about, I mean, the Atlanta Falcons is the one we always keep going back to. I saw somebody put in the comment up here earlier, someone on Get Up today, they were talking about the Falcons, like winning the NFC South, and everybody's got them all penned in up there. And it's like, I mean, the Bucs have won the division 3 years in a row. And I don't see where this regression comes from. I mean, to me, they look better. I just think people are so misinformed, and they're showing their, you know what, if they're not doing their research on this Bucs roster and what they have. And so when I see guys like the Baldingers of the world, guys like that who clearly are doing their homework, and they're showing you real film, by the way, of this team, which tells me they're doing their homework and they're high on this team. I feel more about that than some of these shows who are just looking at the big names who have gone to Atlanta. But I still think top to bottom, the Bucs roster's got them beat.
And continuity wins in this league. And the one thing that Falcons do not have is continuity. They've got everything new. New quarterback, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, new everything across the board, which, you know, some of them have come with good, you know, Raheem Morris is a good defensive coordinator.
Yeah, and I'm rooting for Raheem. We're all rooting for Raheem.
Yeah, absolutely. And, but everybody is unproven, and nobody has done it on any level together in this group in Atlanta. Whereas you look at the Buccaneers, they've won 3 division titles in a row. They were tied in the fourth quarter with the Detroit Lions to go to the NFC Championship game. That shit matters, folks. It matters. And I don't care who's doing it. It matters. And if it's consistent winning, which it has been here, then it matters even more. And yes, there's a new offensive coordinator here, but I don't think anybody worth of salt thinks it's a downgrade to Dave Canales. It's not. No. And it's absolutely evident when you turn on the film that this run game is going to be better. I think the defense is going to be better. I think they've gotten rid of some players on the defensive side that cost them games with mental errors in Carlton Davis and certainly Devin White and Ryan Neal that cost them games. And, you know, when you take the errors away, you become a better football team. It's not just about 40 times and and shuttle runs. It's about moving in the right direction when you're supposed to be. It's about communicating and not leaving guys wide open in the end zone. Hopefully that's going to happen, but I think it'll happen with much less frequency this year for the Buccaneers. So I don't see how you can objectively say that the Bucs have not gotten better. They've improved so dramatically on the offensive line, at the center position, and at the right guard position. Cody Mauch is so much better than he was last year, and I would obviously say that left guard is at least status quo, if not better. And I think by the time Elijah Klein gets his feet under him and he's starting at left guard, they'll be even better, and a great young offensive line moving forward. So I don't see how you can say they're not a better football team. And, Todd Bowles, say what you will about him, but I think he has really grown as a head coach, and I'm excited to see him run this team this year. He's much more comfortable in his own skin. We've talked about this. He's more comfortable in front of the press. The players love him. They play hard for him. There's no question about that. So I think this team, and I keep saying it, has a lot of ingredients to be really, really good. Now, the NFL, super competitive. It's not an easy schedule, I don't think.
Right.
But all that said, I don't see how you can, there's people picking the Falcons to go to the Super Bowl. I mean, that's insane. That's insane. It's not like Kirk Cousins has this great resume of putting teams on his back and winning big things.
No, and he's had better rosters in Minnesota than this Atlanta one too.
Hell yes. So, hey, and like I said with Jason, they're right where they want to be.
Yeah, and I love how he sends the articles to Baker. That was a great nugget right there.
Right away. They just like fueling his fire. It's just like, we're going to send this one to Baker, send this one. By the way, and Rick got it. I don't think you were listening earlier when I gave people the assignment. There was a reference in there that you won't hear many general managers reference, but he knows
the Sticks to Midnight one. Yeah.
He loves football.
See, when I listened to it last night, I had no idea what he was talking about. But
yeah, I originally missed it because I think I was talking over him at the moment or laughing, and he's texted me and he's like, "Dude, you missed my 6 to midnight," and I was like, "What?" I went back and listened to it. I was like, "Oh my, how did I miss that? That was so good." And that's it. If that's not quintessential Jason Light, like I don't know what is. I mean, that is so good. And it's funny. I was just thinking about that. The other general managers, and when I was at Channel 8, we would do a general manager's interview every week with Bruce Allen, and I'd have to shower after every time. It was just, it's just. Nice guy, super nice guy, but just the quintessential used car salesman. And you do these interviews, and they were, this is corporate media interviews, right? We're not going to sit there and grill them, and it's all we're the Buck station. We get to do the general manager interview. You're not there, it's not going to be 60 minutes, or I should say the old 60 minutes. It's not going to be that, but you would just like walk away and he knew he could say whatever he wanted to be, and I really couldn't challenge him, in that corporate environment. So, it is what it is. But when you talk you got to talk about two guys that are completely different human beings, and Bruce Allen and Jason Light. One is just a snake oil salesman, and the other is just, as authentic a person as you'll ever meet in your life. And I think and that's why I truly root for him. We try to be an objective journalist when we're analyzing the Buccaneers. I really do. I try to do the same thing with FSU, but there's just certainly people that just, you root for. You got to root for them. And if you're not rooting for Jason Light, then, I don't know. I just, you must be into the super celebrity flash and dash. And that's what substance means to you and not to me. The dude is he's as good as gold, and I think that has been a integral part of his success. And I think after you hear that interview, you would agree with that, right?
Yeah, of course. There's nothing in that interview that shocked me from Jason Licht whatsoever. And I've listened to all his interviews. He's been kind of making the trips around this offseason, and he was on the Channel 8 broadcast with Rondé and Chris Myers last time. He's always so open. Like, he'll give you some good nuggets. Obviously, he's going to keep his trade secrets in, but he just seems like he really has a good time doing his job. It doesn't seem like he's angling to ever go anywhere else. Like, I feel like, he could retire. I don't know how old he is necessarily, but like, and I know GM turnover sometimes gets crazy, but the fact that
early 50s, maybe.
yeah, he's still young. He's got a lot of way to
Yeah.
go. But depending on how much longer he wants to do this, I don't foresee him really being on the hot seat anytime soon. And I don't see he doesn't seem like the kind of guy that wants to go anywhere else. So he could be doing this for a long, long time here in Tampa Bay. And I think we're all okay with that.
Yeah, I think this, as you look at this roster now, and things can change quickly. There's no question. I mean, you lose a quarterback and things go into 10. Things can change. We all know that. But I think he's built up enough goodwill with the Glazers that he can have some misses and some things. But I think at this point he's set up this franchise for a nice run. That's why I said this offensive line. If Elijah Klein becomes the player, I think a lot of us believe he can become. We're not predicting gold jackets here, but I think he could be a little bit of Ali Marpet light, almost in that vein. Wirfs, Klein, Barton, a rookie.
I mean, you got Gedeke in
year
there.
2, Gedeke year 3. Yeah. I mean, Jesus, and you have an offensive line play is so critical in this league. I mean, it's just so critical, and when you can have a young group like this grow together. I mean, they could literally play together for another 6 to 8 years. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
And you could be a really good football team.
We've been through the trenches with Goster Cherilus and Caleb Beninock and the guy that pees on people on airplanes.
Yes, absolutely. By the way, that flight was going to Dublin, and there were some friends of mine on that flight going over for a golf tournament. So we got to get the interview.
Right. But yeah, but in general, like looking at the way the offensive line has evolved under Jason Licht and some of the names, like I just said there, I mean, those are the two that come to mind.
Yeah.
For the worst reason.
He didn't draft them, obviously, but
right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. The Super Bowl offensive line, it'll be hard to top that one. It just will. Everything just came together. But again, they had some bad luck with Ali Marpet's early retirement and the injury
that was
to
a
Ryan
killer.
Jensen, that could set back your offensive line for years. Now, let's not act like the offensive line just
because he would still be in his prime. Can you imagine that?
Exactly. And the crazy thing is the offensive line was not very good in 2022. It was not very good last year at times. They still were able to find enough ways to win 9 games and win the division, even with a offensive line in shambles, at points. But this year you look at it and it's like, I mean, yeah, you keep your eye on Ben Bredesen a little bit, but to Ben Bredesen's credit, I think he's really showed up here in camp and done a good job. And with Elijah Klein chasing him, I think that's put the pressure on him. And obviously they bring in the Royce Newman in favor of Brandon Walton yesterday. So let's see what happens there. But I feel so good about this offensive line for the first time since that 2021 season.
Yeah, agreed. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, the Jason Licht celebration continues. We'll hear some specific things about players on this roster that he talked with the rest of the press yesterday that I did not want to go into to waste our time with him because he already talked about it. That's how we do it. So we'll play that next. We're brought to you by the great folks at the Gold and Diamond Source. Don't forget, guys, this is a place for you as well. Guys wear jewelry too. How about some nice sparkling cufflinks? That'll look spiffy going to the office, or a nice tie tack. That's something you can get, or a necklace, baller watches. Got a great selection of Rolex and tags and all those great watches, Breitlings at the Golden and Diamond Source, used and new. You can look for investments, the Rolex watches and other watches, really good investments these days. They got all of it there for you at the Golden Diamond Source. And of course, the staff makes a difference. You got a very knowledgeable staff that'll help you through all the pricing and everything else, and no high sales pressure as well. It's a great place to shop. And of course, it's a local company. We love our local companies here. Julie and Steve Weintraub do such a great job in the community. So we keep it local with the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Olmerton Road. Always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. Back in 3.5 with more Jason Licht. Stay with us. Hey, it's football season, and we welcome back the Gator Report every Monday and Friday, sponsored by the Jeeves Law Group, Jeeves lawgroup.com. Just go to the website. You can contact them through there. Scott Jeeves is a tremendous, aggressive attorney and a big Gator fan, so we appreciate him supporting this show and, of course, your Florida Gators. They are local, they are trusted, and they get results, whether it's personal injury or anything else, any law matter at all. It's the Jeeves Law Group, Jeeves lawgroup.com. Give them a call. Tell them JP sent you.
All right, this is for all you guys who don't want to go to the gym and do 5,000 crunches. At Bay Area Modern Medical Center, you can get on the new True Body machine where you can reduce fat and tone up your muscle. It's like doing 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Define your body as you see fit. True Body offers personalized muscle stimulation that delivers the equivalent of those 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Just get in touch with them at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo and the team over there will set you up on True Body and get amazing results. Non-invasive with comfortable and little to no pain and zero downtime. You can isolate and target those areas that you want to improve and treat multiple areas simultaneously. It's an amazing machine, so check it out at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com.
JP here to ask the question, are you planning an event, meeting, or conference? If so, you'll want to call the designers and production professionals at Extravaganza Productions Incorporated. With over 35 years of experience in the events industry, designing and producing every type of small to large event, they can provide a huge resource for design ideas, audio, visual, sound, lighting, decor, and entertainment to turn your event into an incredible experience for the entire audience. Folks, I've worked up close and personal with this group at many national events and Tampa events, and they have unique capabilities that help you save time and money in the planning and execution of your next event. Don't delay. Call these pros today at 813-621-4700 or check out their website at extravaganzaproductions.com. Tell them JP sent you, and they'll provide a free initial consultation for your event. Extravaganza Productions, the best in the business. Golfers, listen up. The hottest new driving range craze has come to Rogers Park in Tampa. The Top Tracer range is now open 10 to 9 p.m. And just like you see on TV, every shot is tracked for yardage and accuracy, giving you immediate feedback. And best of all, you can virtually play the top courses like Pebble Beach or St. Andrews with your buddies. Plus, great food and drink options available in the well-appointed hitting bays. Very comfortable out there. Reservations highly recommended, starting at $25 per hour, including balls. Reserve at RogersParkGolf.net. That's RogersParkGolf.net. See you there.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
Oh. We're having issues today, aren't we? I got a brewing story I'm working on here.
Ooh, a brewing story.
Brewing story involving high school football shenanigans going on in the state that we need to nip in the buds. I'm trying to get some clearance here to talk about it publicly. If not, we'll still talk about it, but there may be some things I can't reveal. So a little teaser there for you. We're brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. The great Chris Lugo will join us at 11:45, and he just reminded me. I don't want any HIPAA violations here. Okay, well, I can't do that. All right, well, we can't talk about that. But Jason Light looked good. He looked really good. I can tell you that. Anyway, we got lots to get to today. We'll do more Jason Light here in just a minute. But Bay Area Modern Medical Center, if you want to get your testosterone right, which many of you need to do, folks. I was having some conversations over in Europe with some of the cabbies and everybody else about as you found out, Nick, when you leave the United States, the food overseas is so much better. It's so much fresher.
Right.
Doesn't have all the crap in it that the poisons that we have in our system that deplete your testosterone. Quite real. I mean, it's real. And the reason we got on this topic, one of our cab drivers was from Cameroon. Great man. Just great guy. And so we started talking as we Scott Jeeves and I talked to every cabbie. We just love getting their local stories. And Scott talks football with them. He's such a Premier League fan. They talk their football. But I'm like, so where are you from? Like I said, how many siblings do you have? And he says, I'm one of 54. I said, what? He goes, yes, my father had 54 children. I said, what? Now that's prolific. I was like, do you go to Bay Area Modern Medical Center? His testosterone was good. There's no question about that. And so he told us the whole story. Grew up in Cameroon, one of 54 kids. His dad had 8 wives. 8 wives. I don't know if they were actually legally married. And I'm like, what number were you? He goes, I was between 37 and 42.
Wow.
He was, wow. I said, well, how often did you see Pop? He's like, oh, just New Year's, Christmas. That was about it. And he started working when he was 9 years old on a farm.
Crazy.
His mother would drop him off at 8 o'clock in the morning and pick him up at 6 o'clock at night. Because obviously dad, wasn't providing for all the children perhaps as he should. But it's just it's a totally different world. When you get outside the United States, you learn so much about different cultures and other things. But as I bring it back to it, yeah, the food is so much better over there, and our depleted testosterone. So if you trust me, folks, get your testosterone tested, men, and you'll find out it's low and it needs to be. And there's very safe ways of doing that. Don't believe in all the stupid myths about, it'll give you heart trouble and all this other stuff. No. Get your testosterone right at Bay Area Modern Medical Center. It's very, very good.
So I take it everything was good over there except for the 3 hours that you were inside the
Actually, the game
was
was tremendously fun. It really was great fun. The stadium is amazing. I saw my kids there. We chatted for a while, took some pictures. I just ran into everybody. You go up to get a beer and you're running into all, your fraternity brothers and your buddies and from school, and you see so many faces that but you're like, and you literally like all week in Dublin, you're like, you catch eyes on, and I'm like, I know that dude was in my science class. It's just like, and you just start talking to people, and of course all the locals, they'll talk to you for days about everything. So yeah, the game was great. I mean, it was a fun game. If FSU jumps out ahead, they go right down the field, back and forth, a lot of big plays. I mean, it was frustrating to watch at times. There's no question about it.
It was frustrating from my couch. I tell you that one.
I mean, but it was. I mean, I honestly, I'd rather watch a game like that than a 50-0 blowout. It's it was dramatic. It was dramatic, and I thought Florida State was going to come back and win it on a Ryan Fitzgerald field goal, right? The good Irish lad. But it didn't happen. Had we gotten the ball back, I think the Noles drive the field and at least get a field goal. The offense, I don't think, was a huge problem. Defensively, we got big issues.
I was going to say, everybody, that was like, I said this on Monday, and it's like, why is everybody's like, going after DJU and everything? Because he's the quarterback and an easy target. And I was like, man, there was like at least five issues that I could point out first before I even touched DJU.
Yeah, he was not great. I mean, he missed some throws. There's no question about it, but you're going to miss throws. People expect quarterbacks to be perfect. Oh, it's an open receiver. You got to hit him every time. Well, listen, you're going through your progressions. You got heat coming on you right and left. You got to step up in the pocket, make the throw. It's not easy all the time. Did he play great? No. Did he play okay?
But I think I don't think the game plan helped him. I was more alarmed by the game plan from Mike Norvell.
Yes.
And the defense more than anything.
Yeah, the blocking, tackling was horrific. The angles that they took were terrible. The defensive scheme was
they got beat at their own game. They both wanted to do the same thing, and that was run the football. And one team executed it really well, and the other team did not execute it really well.
And the reason they executed it so well is because the Noles refused to bring a safety up. For 90% of the game, they had two safeties 10 to 12 yards deep, and Haynes King doesn't throw the ball down the field. I mean, I just don't understand that, and they're running. And when you look at the film, some of the defensive line didn't get trucked like I thought they did. But it was the defensive end with interior guys were okay. The defensive ends, and we talked about this earlier in the week, at 240 pounds, both of them, Marvin Jones Jr. and Patrick Payton, they're not run defenders.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's hard to watch Jared Verse for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And it's like every snap he plays like it's like his last and everything. And he was so good at stopping the run on the edge. And Jermaine Johnson was the same thing in 2021. Yeah. And then you see Pat Payton and Marvin Jones Jr., and it's like they got no clue.
These guys are pass rushers. These guys are pass rushers. They're not, and Shade Tree's my guy. And I'm not criticizing his son, but I think his son was asked to do something that he's not ready to do at 240
his son, though, is there to rush the passer, like you said.
Right.
He was the only one that I thought was noticeable at times.
Yeah, he almost made the play of the game. Part. He was a whisker away from making the play of the game. Haynes King, this was on I think it was on the final drive.
Yeah.
It was 3rd and 7 or 3rd and 12. And he made a great spin move to the inside, and he's just about ready to hit Haynes King. And Haynes throws it over the middle and damn near threw a pick. And I'm just going to say that was a lucky throw. He just got it off. But that's the play. He made the plays, and Georgia Tech made the plays they had to make. I could take one of any 6 or 7 plays in that game that go the other way. FSU probably wins the game, but that's you could say that about it's football. Georgia Tech made the plays, and FSU did not. And it was a great experience. It was a really fun game. And I see people. I think I saw something on X where people like calling for Mike Norvell to be fired. Like, what the F are you talking about?
No, but there's some. If you lift the hood up a little bit under Mike Norvell, there's some interesting things you'll find, I guess, that are worth discussions. I think.
Like what? Let me. What type of stuff? What are we talking about here?
I'm just going to.
Such a bad coach that Alabama was.
No. I'm not sounding the alarm bell. I'm just merely pointing out that when you hit the portal as hard as FSU does, and they had a lot of success doing it, I don't know if that's the long-term sustainable way. Eventually, you have to recruit really, really well. And I don't think the recruiting class last year, like, it fell apart a little bit on that last day, and it could have been much better. And Miami passed them, and Florida was right there with them. Like, I think they missed a little bit of the opportunity on the high school side last cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at the receiver room, and I'm that's just not going to get any better. Your receiver room is your receiver room. And I don't see a lot of impact there. I think that was a large part of the issue. He didn't play, but Benson was just, he was
that's
okay.
That's a 5-star receiver. I know he hasn't done a lot yet, but he's tremendously talented.
Right. But outside of Hakeem Williams, I'm looking for what else did you recruit in that area? And it's very, very thin. I look at Randy Shannon still being on that coaching staff, and I don't know why. The linebacker,
he's the nicest guy in football. Everybody loves him. He's a great dude.
Yeah.
He's hard not to like, and he just keeps getting jobs.
Yeah, it's just like little tweaks like that. I think there's some guys on his staff that are not the greatest recruiters, and I think they've been allowed to stay on this staff a little too long. And when you go 13-0, obviously nobody's getting fired,
right?
But I just think in terms of long-term sustainability, I think he could switch up a few of those guys. But that's just something to observe. Doesn't mean we're sounding the alarm bells.
And I think I hate to say this, but it's like already this fan base is spoiled. Like, okay, we went 13-0. We won 10 games a year before. All right, it's not that easy. It's not that easy, especially with what we're dealing with in the conference situation as well. So just chill out. He had a few misses, but I don't think he coached a great game.
No, he did not. He admitted it. He wore it.
Yeah, which is good. Is good. Be better this week, which is going to be tough though. Because this BC quarterback, they couldn't tackle him last year. That defense couldn't tackle him.
Oh, Tommy Castellano. I still wish he was the UCF quarterback. Still asking myself why he's not.
I don't know what he's going to have a great scheme against Castellano because that kid's freaking unbelievably good.
He had 400 yards by himself last year in that game too.
Yeah,
he's in Florida State.
And that defense could play. This defense, they had a long way to go.
Well, I'm excited, by the way, because I'm going after this show's over. I'm actually going to Orlando today.
See the New Hampshire game.
To see the New Hampshire game, I got to actually me and Sean from our Charge On podcast, we got credentialed.
Oh, nice.
Year to be up in the press box for the UCF for the entire season. So I'm going up there, and we're going to do a post show, a little post show on the field right after every home game. So that'll be fun. And then Miami and Florida this week, which, by the way, I'm picking the Florida Gators to win that game.
Me too.
I think they're going to shock everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to do a little Miami, Florida preview here, but I want to get to the Jason Licht stuff because
for sure.
We got, and this is the stuff that I didn't ask because it had been asked at the press conference. So that's all good stuff. So let's go right down the list. Him talking about Cam Johnson, the receiver from what's the name of that place?
Was it tiny little Barton College?
Barton College, yeah. I keep saying, and this guy's going to be a player. He's got skills. Here's Jason on him.
He really earned it. He all through OTAs and then training camp. We saw it in OTAs. He's just a really explosive athlete. Works very hard. It's very important to him. You would think that he came from a very high level program, the way he approaches things and the knowledge that he has already. So Barton has done a great job there in 4 years. And he's a playmaker. So we're very excited to see him in the regular season.
I don't know how many touches he's going to get or where they're going to come. But I'm interested to see what happens. A jet sweep or two I think will be nicely done. So we shall see. All right, here this is Jason talking about the growth of Baker Mayfield over the past couple of years.
He was very focused last year. There's just a little bit different gleam, I would say, in his eye, and I think a little bit maybe you have to do. He's a father now. He's very. Once again, this is not saying he wasn't mature, but he's just seems to be a little bit more. He's got a little bit more to prove, which is I'd love to see. I love when people say things about him and doubt him. It's just it energizes this entire team
and him. No doubt about it. Tyreek Funderburg, the corner who opened some eyes as well. He's I think he's been nicked up, but he's going to make the roster. And again, undrafted free agent. They find another one, and here's him talking about Tyreek.
Very smart. He's got decent size. He's got speed. He's a physical player. He likes to tackle. And he just has natural instincts and patience when he's out there in coverage on an island. It's something that you either have or you don't, and he's got it. So we saw a lot. He's got great ball skills as well. So we see a lot of upside with him. I mean, I don't know if we're going to throw him out. Todd's going to throw him out there week 1 or not, but we feel like he's pretty close to us doing that. He's been one of the more exciting players at that position, young players that we've had since I've been here.
That's interesting too, because like you said, he didn't even get a chance to even play in the preseason. I don't think in any of the games, right?
No.
And you're
first game, yeah,
right, and you're an undrafted player. The stack is already, the deck is already stacked against you. But I feel like Todd Bowles, he probably had it in his mind, like when he first saw him, like, yeah, I like that guy, and probably just filed it into his memory bank. And he obviously performed really well throughout the mini camp process, the camp process. And so even though there was a lot of competition for those spots, I mean, they go with this is 2 years in a row now that they've gone with 2 undrafted safeties, Tyreek Funderburg and then Kayvon Merriweather last year.
Yeah, who played well in the preseason before he got hurt. And I think he's a player too. All right, here's Jason on Chris Godwin in a contract year.
Not contract year. You're going to get the same with Chris, and he's going to give us everything. He's going to empty the tank. He looks better than he has in the past couple of years because of the time away from the injury that he's had. And I think he feels very comfortable and very comfortable where the new spot that we're in. So that's a good thing. Yeah, the new old spot.
Yeah, we talked about Chris. I think he's going to have a huge year where he's at in this offense, who he is, what he does. Bet over on everything. If he stays healthy, he's going to have a tremendous year.
He's one of the most important players on this team for this season, I think. And nobody's really been talking about Chris being in that contract year. And it could probably go 50-50 either way of if he's going to be around or not. But going back to the slot,
the better year he has, the more it's going to cost.
Right.
So,
and Jalen McMillan, we'll see how he ascends. If Jalen McMillan comes out and puts up 700 something yards, 800 something yards in his role, then they might not re-sign Chris Godwin, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
That's right.
Cross that when we get there.
Yeah, first world problems. Speaking of Jalen Mack, here's Jason Light talking about his 3rd round receiver out of Washington.
Capable of. We knew he was capable of, and when we did the process, people were telling our scouts there that at one point, he was a little dinged up last year that he was the go-to guy, that he was capable of being as good as those other guys that went in front of him, and they were very good players. So it doesn't surprise me, but it's sure been great to watch. So do that.
He's so good. He's so good. He just does things that you don't see young receivers do. Greatness shows up early, and it certainly showed up with him. There's no question about it. Again, where the touch is going to come from. But he's the number 3 receiver. He should get 60 to 70 targets, if not more. I think
he's going to give him way more than Trey Palmer got last year.
Oh yeah.
And he'll make the most of what he gets too, as opposed to Trey Palmer left a lot on the field last year.
He really, really did. And if 11 on 11 in training camp is worth anything, he got a lot of targets, Jalen McMillan. I don't know if they just wanted to see what he could do, feed him the ball, but he was open all the time, and he made catches all the time. And then you see that catch he made against the Dolphins. Just, yeah, that's freaking ridiculous. But, yeah, I think he'll be okay. And last one here, the D-line positions, how tough it was to make some of those decisions.
Well, proved again this year that he's what he's capable of, and he's just, old Ironsides. He's going to go out there and give us everything he's got, and he still can play. We've got Vita, Kalijah. I mean, all those guys. We have some very, very good players, and we have Greg Gaines. I can't say enough good things about him. They're always looking for maybe some possible young players that are ascending that you can add to your roster. So we'll always keep looking for that.
All right, so that's our Jason Licht celebration here today. We thank him so much for taking the time to do a one-on-one with us. Hopefully we'll get him a little bit later on in the season as the season progresses, but really appreciate him. And again, do I like Jason Licht? Yes, I do. Are we saying all these nice things because we like him? Yes and no. I think we've proven on this show, we're going to criticize people, even the ones that we like, if we think it's, objectively correct to do so. And right now, it's just like he said when I asked him to do the interview, because you're going to throw me a bunch of hard balls. And I'm like, dude, I mean, what is there to ask you? You haven't effed anything up in a long time. So, I mean, when are we going to go back to the Aguayo pick? No, we're not doing that. So, we're just moving on. And I wanted to obviously just get a little bit, more personal stuff from him on how he thinks and how he develops things. And I think, and I appreciate him for doing that for sure. All right, we'll take another break. When we come back, I do have this emerging high school story that I have been given permission to talk about, so I'm going to do so when we come back. And it's an important issue, and I think it's going to be a big story. Also, we're going to do our Miami, Florida preview. We'll give you a few nuggets on that. Nick and I will do that. And a couple NFL stories that are out there. And Chris Lugo is going to join us at 11:45. So any questions you guys have about your health, about testosterone, sleeping, nutrition, supplements, anything like that you're having an issue with, free medical advice coming your way, just put it in the comments and we'll ask the doc. Stay with us. Quick break. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group and my man, Scott Jeeves. If you're going to hire an attorney, do you want some guy looking for a quick settlement and a quick buck, or do you want an attorney with some chops? Scott is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator. Been practicing in the Tampa Bay area for over 30 years. He is a peer-reviewed AV preeminent-rated civil trial lawyer. They just don't hand out those classifications. He's been the lead class action counsel on many complex consumer protection cases and has handled hundreds of serious personal injury cases. He's dedicated his career to protecting injured victims and is committed to vigorously representing you. We're local, we're trusted, and we get results. Personal injury and personal attention. Call for a free case evaluation. That's 888-9-JEEVES. That's 888-9-JEEVES. The Jeeves Law Group. Getting old is inevitable, but feeling and looking old is avoidable. If you're feeling run down, your workout sucks, or your sexual libido is not what it used to be, check out Bay Area Modern Medical Center. That happened to me a few years ago, and I found out I had the testosterone level of a second-grade girl. That's not good. Our food, environment, and stress can cause your T levels to drop. Bay Area Modern Medical Center can help, and they are different. They offer customized hormone replacement for both men and women. Christopher Lugo and his medical staff can help you restore your energy, your sex drive, and your feelings of well-being. It was a total game changer for me. I have way more energy, lost 30 pounds, and I'm performing better in all areas of my life. Nobody wants to talk about sexual health, but it's key to a balanced life. We offer discreet treatments with real-world results. So if you're suffering from a lack of interest in sex, ED, or lack of sexual stamina, Dr. Lugo and his staff can help. Take your health care to the next level at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. JP here to ask the question, are you planning an event, meeting, or conference? If so, you'll want to call the designers and production professionals at Extravaganza Productions Incorporated. With over 35 years of experience in the events industry, designing and producing every type of small to large event, they can provide a huge resource for design ideas, audio, visual, sound, lighting, decor, and entertainment to turn your event into an incredible experience for the entire audience. Folks, I've worked up close and personal with this group at many national events and Tampa events, and they have unique capabilities that help you save time and money in the planning and execution of your next event. Don't delay. Call these pros today at 813-621-4700 or check out their website at extravaganzaproductions.com. Tell them JP sent you, and they'll provide a free initial consultation for your event. Extravaganza Productions, the best in the business.
Take your business or nonprofit to the next level with the power of video. Red House Streaming offers complete field production services. Our experience and expertise has you covered every step of the way wherever you want to go. From initial concept to final delivery, we'll handle it all and bring your vision to life. As your all-in-one production partner, we offer comprehensive marketing packages that not only showcase your brand, but amplify your reach. Contact Red House Streaming today.
Hey, if you love golf and the new Top Tracer virtual golf experiences that have taken the golf world by storm, well, you're going to love the new Top Tracer range at Rogers Park in Tampa. It combines the fun of competing virtually on the world's greatest courses like Pebble Beach or St. Andrews with an outdoor range experience to track your ball, not just hitting it to that net. I love it. They have great brand new spacious covered bays, huge fans blowing down. It's very enjoyable even when it's hot. So grab your golf buddies. Great price, $25 an hour up to $45 at peak times. Balls are included, and you can also play the new short course for just $9. It's all at rogersparkgolf.net. To reserve a bay, go to rogersparkgolf.net. I'll see you there.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here. It's we're going to hit a little more college football and some high school football as well, brought to you by the good friends at Cafe Paradiso. Branzino. You want some Branzino? It's a sea bass. If you have not been to Cafe Paradiso on South McDill and you're an Italian food fan, you are missing out. It is a treat. It is traditional Italian, not this new frou-frou Italian stuff you see all over the place. It's real Italian. It's lasagna. It's chicken parm. It's Branzino, which is a sea bass. Granchia, whatever the hell I said it was. But, angel hair pasta with lump crab meat. Take the good stuff. And it is fantastic. So go see my good friend Palotini over there. Tell him JP sent you. Have a nice glass of wine with that. It's a great wine selection. Cafe Paradiso, one of those great locally owned restaurants. Number three in Tampa Bay's top 10 restaurants on Open Table. There's a lot of restaurants that spend a lot of money on marketing and all that, but none better than Cafe Paradiso.
Yeah, I know one that comes to mind that was a big miss about a month ago.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I should call him out in the program. Although you love when I call the people. You like me to name them, don't you?
It is what it is.
I'm just saying.
You had a bad experience.
Listen, Forbici in Hyde Park is.
Oh, Forbici.
Not a fan. Just going to put it out there.
My good friend Jeff Gigante over there. So shut up.
It was just too loud. Maybe it was very loud. That's all. That was it. It was just very. It was a Friday night. It was so
too loud on Friday night. Okay, I think he'll take that. He'll take that if that's the problem. I thought you were going to say the pizza was bad.
No, the pizza was good. It was just. I didn't know it was that loud in there.
It's loud. It's a very popular place. If you want to go have a nice silent dinner or nice intimate dinner with your date, probably not the place to go. But if you're looking for some action. Forbici's always got, you can think about Forbici is you walk in there, you're going to see tons of friends. If you're from South Tampa, you hang out there, you'll see tons of people there. Food's good. So yeah, that's all right. That's an okay criticism, but Cafe Paradiso. Now that's where you should take Casey. That is beautiful. It's beautiful. Great place. I took Ashley there on a Valentine's Day. And she loved it. You loved it, right? Honey? Yeah. She does love I think you did have the Branzino. I think their first Valentine's Day. She had the Branzino, the sea bass, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is. That's what he said it is. He's telling me Branzino's not sea bass. That's what he just said. Paulo knows. It's on the freaking spot. All right. Before we get to the high school stuff, Miami and Florida this week, 3:30. I can't wait for that game. I am jacked up for that game. I'm picking the Gators like you because I think they're a little underrated. Miami's overrated, as always. But I'm interested to see this Miami team. They've got a ton of talent. And Cam Ward is a difference maker. Of course, we were told last year that Tyler Van Dyke was a difference maker, and he stuck out loud. So how good can they coach him up? How good are they going to be? Cam Ward appears to be really good, but he can turn the ball over. He's a good runner. But Graham Mertz probably won't turn the ball over. He's been fantastic at that. And they've got Montreal Johnson, by the way, who had a knee injury, is cleared to play, so he'll be playing. No more ATN, obviously, and he's gone to Georgia. But I like the Gators in this spot just because they're playing at home. It's going to be super hot. It's going to be a suffocating atmosphere. Those are times when Miami quits.
Well, I'm not underestimating the Miami roster. Miami has put together what is top to bottom the most talented roster, certainly in the ACC. And so I get why they're the trendy pick and everything. But this is my most intriguing game of week one. I think it's the most important game, quite frankly, for week one, because if Miami loses this game, the narrative on Cristobal is like, oh, here we go again. Can't win the big games. And now we thought we had this top 5 team or whatever. And now we're losing to Florida in week one, right? And if Florida loses to Miami and if they get blown out by Miami, it reaffirms what everybody been saying, like, oh, this is it. Napier, turn up the hot seat on him. Like, this is going to be bad. Like, to me, like, the way those two respective teams' seasons go, I know it's week one. I think that this is going to shape up so much what we see from these teams this season. And I think Florida, knowing that the first 5 games of this season for them is where they need to get some wins.
Yeah.
They have it at home. I mean, Miami is only a 2.5-point favorite. It's not like they're like a 10-point favorite or something like that. We've seen crazier things like we just saw in Ireland, for crying out loud. Yep. And I don't care what team you are. Playing in the swamp is hard as hell to do. Yeah. It just is. Especially, and I think it's going to be
on an August day at 3:30. It's going to be hot as hell. This is where it really tests you. It tests your resolve. And I think the emotion of the crowd will help the Florida players push through that. Whereas it will strangle the Miami players. You're going to have some huge onions to play in the fourth quarter in this game. It's going to test your mettle every which way it can. And those are the times when I've seen Miami fold. And I
don't trust Cristobal's at endgame coach.
I don't either.
How can you?
I don't either. But Cam Ward's a hell of a guy. I love Graham Mertz as well. DJ Lagway, I'm guessing, will probably have a package in this game as well for maybe some goal line stuff, kind of a Tim Tebow type of thing. I would think so, right? What effect will he have on the game?
We'll see.
Yeah. And Trey Wilson. Let's not forget about Tampa's own Trey Wilson, who gained 10 pounds over the summer, looks fantastic, and I think is going to have a huge year, 1,000-yard year for Trey Wilson as a receiver. So good game, 3:30 on Saturday. Georgia Clemson at 1 o'clock. I hate to say it, but I think Georgia's the best team in the nation. I think until Ohio State proves it to me. I know their roster is fantastic, but I'm going to believe in Kirby Smart over Ryan Day any day of the week. So, but that's
I think the quarterback difference between Georgia and Ohio State is the difference for me.
Carson Beck, yeah.
I mean, Kansas State just kind of sort of let Will Howard go. And they feel like they have the better option in House and Avery Johnson.
Yeah.
He goes to Ohio State and all of a sudden it's, Heisman contender. Like, don't fall for that. I don't think he's that much better than what Kyle McCord was last year for Ohio State. So I think Georgia's the number 1 team in the land. I think they put it on Clemson in this game because I think Georgia is that type of program now. Like how it didn't work out for them last year. They felt like they got snubbed. I think they're coming out for blood for everybody this year.
Yeah, I can't wait. And the USF tonight, or not tonight, the UCF tonight against New Hampshire, Colorado taking on North Dakota State. I'll be watching that and your game as well, both of them. If Dion loses that, which, by the way, it's a 10-point spread, I'm betting North Dakota State on that one for sure. And what was the other game I wanted to talk about this weekend? Notre Dame, Texas A&M. That's going to be the night game, 7:30. Yeah, great slate.
And Penn State, West Virginia. Virginia, I'm on high alert there. I think West Virginia can beat Penn State at home.
Ooh,
I'm on high alert there.
Those tickets are going just to get in that game at $300 in West Virginia.
They had to close all their I think a lot of their classes have gotten canceled tomorrow in expectation for McAfee's arrival because he's doing his show on campus tomorrow.
Oh wow, that's going to be crazy. All right, I'm gonna play this for you. I hope you guys can see it, but if not, I'll explain it to you. This is a high school football game between Bowles and Rains. Bowles is a private, big money. The Bowles school,
Jacksonville, right?
Yeah, Jacksonville. That's where Tebow went. Pretty sure.
And Mac Jones.
And this is Rains High School, Jacksonville Rains, kind of inner city school. And this is the coin toss, and the supposed handshake between the captains that did not happen. If you probably missed that, but I'll see if I can replay. There's the Bowles kids, and that's the Jacksonville Reigns kids with their hands behind their back. The Bowles kids came out and put their hand out, and the other team refused to shake their hand. Now, evidently this is a growing trend this year, and it's usually happening between black and white, which is bad. It's really, really bad. It happened. This is from one of the other high school administrators on this thread I'm on. Apparently, this is a thing now. The coach at CMHS, which is Chiefland Middle High School, just told me that 3 black captains from Williston refused to shake hands with CMHS, but their white captain did. It just fired up CMHS, and they whipped them even more. So this is a problem. And a good buddy of mine, Shelton Cruz, is he's long been Florida High School Association Coaches Association. He's been a coach for a long, long time. Great dude. And he texted the FHSAA brass and said, there seems to be a growing trend of captains not shaking hands at the coin toss. I noticed this past weekend in 2 games, but I'm sure it's probably happened in other games. Are they required to, or is it left up to the officiating crew or the school? If sportsmanship is something that we are promoting, then we need to use the Barney 5 slogan and nip this in the bud. Let me know if I can help with anything. And from the FHSAA said, thanks, Shelton. I agree. It's something we've seen a couple times too. Typically, it results from the stuff that's gone on during the week via social media between the players and schools and leads to animosity at the captain's meeting and during games. We've reached out to schools and county leadership to attempt to work through this and continue to encourage good sportsmanship from the start and finish. And yeah, this needs to be nipped in the bud. Absolutely. Especially when it's going to be happening along racial lines. That's just going to lead to some really, really, really bad stuff. And, again, this is where the field of play is, at least in my experience in my 61 years, and I played on a lot of freaking teams, racism has never been a thing. I mean, you're playing with whites and blacks are coming together, all nationalities. We're all coming together for a common purpose on a team. I'm still great Facebook friends with a lot of my teammates when I was in basketball in high school, back in high school and football. I mean, it's just not, so you don't see color. And I think it's one of the great learning places for that in growing up and in schools. I can't see how a coach of any regard would allow this to happen. I would send my players back out there and say, no, you shake the hands. We're playing football here today. And I know and listen, I'm not placing blame on either side, because there's some stupid ass things that are said by the white kids, by the black kids, it doesn't matter what color. There's stupid ass things said by both that are going to piss people off. And if we got to go back to that and find out who's saying what on social media, we can do that and start suspending kids. I mean, I'm all for free speech, but when it leads to stuff like this, it's really, and it's got to be egregious. Obviously, it's not stuff. This is why social media, we should have 16 and up for social media. Kids have no idea how to handle social media. None. I mean, parents, adults don't even know how to handle it in the right way. Keyboard warriors everywhere. So I just don't like it. I don't like it.
Well, Durant plays Plant City tomorrow night, and if they don't want to shake hands, I'm okay with it.
Shut up. Are you serious? Don't say that.
In the sense of a rivalry, I in rivalry games, I feel like everything's on the table.
You gotta shake hands.
Let's just go at it. Let's just go at it.
No, come on, bro. What are we doing here? Come on. Not for that. Not for that. All right. Looks like Chris Lugo is ready. The handsome lad that he is. How are you, Doc? How are you? Good to see you, my friend. You're a busy man. Can we hear you? No, we don't.
He's got his
Put your mic on. Oh, no, he's got to set up. Maybe
I unmuted you.
Oh, sorry. I came to you a
How
little.
you been?
I gained 15 pounds in Ireland.
I wonder why.
Drinking like a fish.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm good.
How'd you feel?
What's that?
How did you feel?
Not hungover. The Guinness over there is a lot cleaner than it is anywhere else. Everything, the food's cleaner, everything is cleaner over there. So did not have a hangover. Needed a little bit more sleep, but did not have a hangover. So, but I felt, you feel heavy, you feel bloated. It's not the greatest feeling in the world. But I got to shed some pounds. I got to get back to my fighting weight. I need to get about 10 to 12 off. So away we go.
Looking a little like Jason Light there, a little lighter on your feet.
Yeah. Yes. Am I allowed to ask if you work with Jason as well?
That is not for me to say. That's
okay.
I cannot confirm nor deny.
Okay, that's fine. Well, we won't do that. Let people figure stuff out themselves. But you enjoyed his 6 to midnight reference in the okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's not a HIPAA violation. You can talk about that. All right. So I gave you a little homework, and we may or may not have discussed this before, but because we're talking about, here come the Washington Commanders on Sunday. It's going to be a hot game out there. The Bucs have the advantage. And I'm like, no, that's not true. And I think this is where Todd Bowles has been smart. They'll work out indoors sometimes during the week, not all the time, but sometimes, just to get them from, keep them from, if you're a 2.5 hour workout outside as opposed to inside, you're going to lose a lot less fluids, I'm guessing. Is that a good thing? I would think it is. If you're not losing fluids 4 times a day, depleting your body, and then having to replenish them and then go play a game on Sunday.
So what's interesting is how they train. I don't know if you're paying attention to some things they do, but they also wear little patches on their skin, which is grabbing some sodium content from them, seeing how much they're losing. So they're trying to,
interesting,
the Gatorade bottles that they're giving them now have specific concentrations on electrolytes in them. So it's not the one size fits all mentality anymore. Now you're seeing, I think Tom Brady and a lot of all those guys back in the day kind of made that famous, hey, look, that is my bottle. Don't drink out of my bottle. I have my stuff in that bottle. I think the Stamkos thing too, those guys on the benches, they have specific things they want to train with because they've been playing with that in the off season. So they kind of know where they're losing it. Because Nick losing sweat, me losing sweat, you losing sweat, everyone's going to lose different concentrations of sodium, potassium, those electrolytes that we need to replete. So, and plus they're probably getting IVs in the locker room too. They're slamming a 500 cc, maybe 1,000 cc's them in 5-10 minutes on a pressure bag. Those guys got a good, all healthy hearts. They can handle that volume that goes in them fairly quickly, and nutrition wise too. So. Indoors, outdoors, you don't want to beat the hell out of them over and over, day in and day out for 16 hours on the field. You got to take those breaks intermittently. I still think we always have the little more of an advantage playing in heat because a lot of our guys are conditioned living here. Maybe not the newbies that come here, but the guys that train here year in and year out get a little more used to the heat, especially later in the season.
Yeah. It was interesting. In one of the behind-the-scenes recharge episodes for the Lightning, they did a piece on the guy that does the drinks and does all the physio stuff for them. I forget his name, unfortunately, but he had all the bottles lined up with the players' names on it, and he's going through them and putting different stuff in each and every bottle, and they do that on a daily basis. I had no idea it's gotten to that level of detail. But it's definitely not
a lot of science behind it. It's not the old school Gatorade days back in the day, right? So there's a lot more science today.
Well, so if we're talking to, we got a lot of weekend warriors out there that take it really seriously. If you were going to, look for certain signs of things that are good for you or bad for you and want to quote, make your own bottle. Do you have any thoughts on how you can tell without, the serious data that some of these players are getting?
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of N=1 studies that you're doing. You're going to see how you're feeling. What cocktail did you use? How were you drinking that? Hydrate Heroes, Drip Drop, Liquid IV, whatever it be. What were you mixing it in? How much were you mixing? How quickly were you drinking it? You don't want to slam those things down. That's not always the best. You kind of want to drink them over time, 30 minutes to 45 minutes, and then throw in a liter of water over roughly 60 minutes. You don't want to slam that water down but Josh should be doing these things preemptively before you get on the golf course, right? Starting to hydrate now because afterwards, that's where you're going to feel like dog crap on that 16th hole because you didn't prep properly before that.
Nick, you want to jump in here at all?
Yeah, I was going to say to the topic of the drinks and everything, and we talked a lot about the marketing of some of these drinks and how deceptive they can be. I mean, I guess what has it been, like a month since my wife has gone to visit you, I guess. So you got a chance to meet her, and she told me, she goes, "Yeah, we were making fun of you because you drink, because I'm a big on the body armor stuff and everything, and I guess you're not the biggest fan of that. Even the ones that are like zero sugar, like." Is all that stuff still very deceptive, even when they put the zero sugar on it and the benefits they give you?
So all these companies, Muscle Milk, Body Armor, when they're first being introduced, they're smaller companies. They make fairly good products. Then the bigger companies, the Pepsis, the Cokes, come in. They buy them, and guess what they do? There's a word I want to use. They screw them over. Okay, let's use that word. There's another word I want to use, but you won't let me. And they screw them over. Yeti, look at Yeti. Back in the day, I probably one of the last Yeti coolers made in America. The next thing you know, venture capitalists came in, they bought them. Now you can get Yeti shoes, and now you can get a Yeti hat, and now you can get a Yeti watch. And like, really, that's not what Yeti was about. So they're trying to get their money on. They're going to cut costs. They're going to put other crap in there, lesser quality products. Chris, this is all I got, then use a body armor. I'm not going to tell you can never use a body armor, but Nick, I'm going to tell you, if that you've got choices, let's make better choices than body armor day in and day out. That's all. In a pinch, grab some Muscle Milk. It's not my favorite. In a pinch, grab an Ensure protein shake, but that should be something you want to go to as your go-to day in and day out.
And I'm living proof here that the food, again, I'm startled at the difference in the food and how you feel. Because, I got these great Irish breakfasts that were, provided by, not free, but they come with your room, right? So you got to get up in the morning. You're like, I'm taking advantage of this. This is going to be my meal for the day. And, I put away a little bit, but I didn't walk away like just, oh, I'm in a food coma now, man. I'm just done for the rest of the day. I still felt good. And I thought that's probably a lot about the food and just why is it so different? It's just so different. The lack of preservatives, chemicals,
GMO'd, non-GMO'd, corn, high fructose corn syrup, and everything. We're in a very interesting dichotomy when it comes to nutrition and the number one killer in the world, the number one killer in America, which is. Obviously, I failed you too.
Heart disease.
Thank you. I was throwing it out there, Nick, and you think. Yeah, heart disease, number one killer. You got your carnivores, your ketos, your paleos going this direction, going pound the protein, whole eggs, stop with the cholesterol crap, stop with the fat-free crap, and go full in. Then you've got the ADA. And if you're a dietitian out there, yes, I will make fun of you, and you can come to my office and we will debate it every which way but Sunday. Okay. On statins and plant-based proteins. It's a bunch of BS. If that back there is a nutritional science major from University of Florida, I learned the pyramid. Find out who's funding that pyramid, the ADA and the WHO, the World Health Organization. Start digging deeper on where this information is coming from, then you'll understand what I'm talking about. My personal opinion is I think that the carnivore, paleo, keto people are going to win this battle in 5 to 10 years for heart disease.
Yeah.
And stop drowning your cholesterol. It's not going to be about that. It's really about low triglycerides, very low, below 50, what I would love to see, and no inflammation, no HSCRP, high sensitivity reactive protein. You can look at interleukin 6 too if you want to, and a couple other markers, but HSCRP is really the big one that everyone likes to talk about. Could I be wrong? I could be wrong. I'll admit if I'm wrong. It's not a big deal, but I think the carnivores, paleo people. So the food that you're talking about, I think it's more the whole foods that you're going to be looking at.
Because the plant-based stuff sounds good. Oh, it's plant-based, right? But the manufacturing of that to get weeds to taste like beef, there's gonna be a lot going on there chemically, right? Things that are being added, processes that probably aren't very natural and healthy. I mean, I'm all for eating fresh vegetables and all those things. That's not what plant-based meat is, right?
No, not at all.
Meat.
And I challenge people all the time in my practice. Hey, you want to start losing fat, not weight, but fat? Go carnivore. 4 to 6 weeks. I'll challenge you to go carnivore for 4 to 6 weeks. Report back to me how you look, how you feel on that, and what's happening with that scale, the numbers, and how your pants are fitting on you.
In carnivore, you
majority
mean
of people say that again.
Now you saying carnivore? Like, give us like what?
Eggs, beef, bison, seafood, venison. Eating what our ancestors ate. Now, true carnivore is nose to tail carnivore. Okay, a lot of people aren't doing that, but most people are doing flesh carnivore, which is fine. You just got to take some supplements to backload those nutrients that you're missing.
And would you mix in some veggies in that? Nope, no veggies, just all meat.
Now you're going paleo if you do that.
So just all meat.
All meat, all eggs, seafood. Kill it.
Can I get cheese in there?
No.
No
now
dairy?
You're going keto if you do that.
Okay. So just
paleos don't like dairy foods.
Just all meat.
Yeah. All meat, all eggs. Do it for 4 to 6 weeks. Let me know how you look and feel on it.
Okay.
Then you make your determination. Now, your lipids are going to look ugly. I'll tell you that right now. But low triglycerides, low inflammation is what I see on my carnivores.
Low inflammation sounds great. That sounds good.
Chronic inflammation leads to chronic disease. I'll drop the mic at that.
That's for damn sure. All right, partner. How do all the folks out there get in touch with you?
BAMMC.com.
Make an appointment right there. So easy. All right, partner. Thank you. Appreciate you. I'll talk to you a little bit later offline.
All right, guys. Take care.
All right. Great. Chris Lugo right there. Could you do that? Like go all meat? I got to try this. It's time. I got to lose weight anyway. I'm on the bus. So
I've almost lived my entire life being almost all meat, to be honest with you. But I mix in I have these factor meals that Chris got me on that I eat for lunch. And they come with like these like cauliflower rice and everything and green beans and stuff like that. And that's where I usually get my vegetables from. It's from those meals.
Right. What are they called? Factor meals?
Yeah, they're called factor meals. It's like a subscription thing, and you select your meals, and they deliver them me and Casey use those for lunch. So
nice. All right, I'm going to go all carnivore. See how it works. All right, good show. Thank you to Jason Light for joining us. That was really, really fun. If you missed anything, obviously you can rewatch this on YouTube, Facebook, on Twitter as well. Follow my new Twitter at the JP Peterson Show. Give me a follow there. And please like and subscribe to our YouTube page. You need to get those numbers up, please. JP Peterson Show. Please go subscribe there. Anything I missed there, partner?
I think we're all good. Just enjoy we have 12 games tonight, I believe. Wow. Tonight on a Thursday night. The Colorado one's going to be fun as hell. I'm probably going to have that one on up in the press box as well. Keeping an eye there. My UCF Knights, USF on Sunday. It's going to be, we're here. We made it.
We are here.
We made it.
Thank God. All right. Have a great evening, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow with more fun and frivolity. Scott Carter will join us with another Gators preview. So we'll see you then.